Welcome back, everyone. This is a Java Level 3 class. So we are going to continue to learn about the file class. And you see, once you learn the basic skills, you are trying to do more with Java. What you need to know is what class you have and what libraries you have. Once you get into the class, you will see what can that class do. So we have spent 3 weeks on that with a file class. So we can list the files, we can filter the files. So today, let's just do more. So let me share my screen. So this is what we stopped. And last week, we used the field. We can filter, we use two different filters, okay? One is the file name field. So you can filter the string using the file name, okay? Another is file field. So if the file is in, if the file is, if the file is a directory or it is a file, so we use that. So we tried both and we use them to work for us. So now we are going to do more thing, okay? With the file class, you could create a new file. So how can we create a new file using the file class? Devin, we do not post the slides. I know for the instructors, they post the class in the classroom before. We already asked them to stop that. The slides, we do not post it. We do not post it out. Sorry about that. But we do post the video. So in the YouTube, we have a YouTube channel. So we have videos there. So if the students wanted to review it, they can watch the video. Sorry about that. All right. So how can we use a file to create a new file? This file class. So you could create a virtual object that does not exist in your hard disk. So even if the file does not exist, even if it does not exist, you can use the file class to create one. So this file do not exist, but you can still use it to do all actions that a file object has. The same applies to a virtual folder. So you maybe in your mind, you talk about a file, a folder, or a directory. You think, okay, it must be on the disk. No, it does not have. So when you read the file class, you will always see that's in the virtual one. It can be physical. It can. It can be physical, but it can be virtual, okay? So when you load it, you read it, actually everything is a virtual. Only when you do save, then it becomes a physical file, okay? So let's try to learn that. So what methods can we use to create a file or folder? Please read these 3 methods. So create a new file, make it dir, and make it dirs. Okay, can we go ahead and do that? Go to the website. Go to the Google website. Now let's just do this. Java file class. And you can use 7 or you can use 8. You just come to take a look at it. It's not a file, it's a file. Okay. Java file class. File. So you can come to take a look at the methods, create a new file, make a dir and make a dirs. See what do they do? And then we will come back, practice on it. Also, you say when before you create a file, usually we want to see if that file exists or not. If it exists, if you wanted to do something to it, usually that's dangerous. You could corrupt that file, right? So you wanted to check. But sometimes you really wanted to check if the file exists or not. If it does not exist, you wanted to open it, you will get a problem. You will get a problem, okay? So I want you guys to pay attention to this method. It exists. It will return a Boolean value. Okay, go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, after you finish reading, so let's just do an exercise. This exercise, I will do it with you together. So can we write a method to create the file or the folder that passing in and return the created file object? This is necessary when you operate on file object. You want to create if it does not exist. Okay. You wanted to create it if it does not exist. So let's try to do this. Let me just give you some code examples. So this is a method. Right, so let's put this method. Here, you see, this is my class. I will just put my method here. Create a file. I want you guys to also do that. I think I already have that file here, that method here. So here, okay. So let me just take it out. Okay, this method, create a file. You pass in a file you wanted this method to create for you. You see, the first step we do is that we want to check if the file exists or not. If it already exists, you just return it back. just return it back. But if it does not, then what you do, you want to check if it's a directory or not. If it's a directory, then you need to make, using this method, make it dir all. If it's not a directory, then you will just use a file, create a new file. You see, they are different. The method for you to create a folder or a file, they are different. They are different, okay? So you just do that, and then you return. So let's do that. Let's just call this method, okay? Let's just call this method. So let me just file, my file will equal to new file. So what I'm going to give it to it, I will just give it a path. Let's say C drive, okay? And then we see temp folder. So I wanted to create a file called Java level 3.txt. So this is what I'm going to do. So I have this file now. So now I wanted to call my method. So how do I call my method? For me, in this one, my class called stem. So I will use a stem, my stem equal to new stem. I create an instance of my class. When you do Java, you need to do that, right? So then we just use my stem dot create file. Right? We'll create a file, and then you just pass in my file to it. Right? So let me give you this code if you do not want to type in yourself. So let me just give it to you. And you need to make sure you have this path in your computer, say temp. So we are going to create a Java level 3.txt file. So let me save my code and then let me run it now. Okay. So it finished running. So let me just go to my C temp folder. I go to C temp. Okay. If I sort my file, I will see Java level 3 text file here. It is created today, just a moment ago. So you can use the file class, create a file method to create a file. So now I want you guys to create a folder. Go ahead and create a folder so I can take a look at your code and the folder you created. Okay? Give you 5 minutes to do it. If you have a question, just let me know. If anyone finish the work, let me know so I can check your work sooner. or I will check yours at 7:34. All right, Devin, can you share your screen to me? Yes. So you see your code from line 6 to line 17. That is the method. So you put the method in the method of main. So usually we don't do that. You do not want to. You want if you do you cannot remove that. If you remove what you just removed, your class will not run. So you need to keep that. So you need to take the code out. 9.6 to 9.17, copy it, and highlight it and then cut it. And then put it outside of this method. Put in 9.8. Can you put it at 9.8? Yes. All right. So now you have this method. So you need to write some code. You need to write some code in 9.6. So in that method, the main method, and now you need to do things. So why do we need to use main method? If you want to run the Java class as an application, that class has to have a main method because that's the entry point. It is the entry point for the system to run that class. If you do not have it, this class cannot be run. It can only be used by other classes. So the application will start from the main class, main method. The class that has a main method, you specify this will be the class to run, then you need to have the main method there. So the system or the application will start from that main method. Because you are a class, you can import a lot of other classes. So you can use other people's work to get your work done, right? So now you need to have the code in the main method. You create an instance of your own class. Then you create a file. Then you call your own method. That's the steps we needed to go. All right. So who get it done? Steven, have you finished?
No, my Java is saying that the program was terminated.
Can you share me your code? The
Okay.
program is terminated. It's fine. The reason is that you really do not print out anything. So it run finishes because you do not have a lot of work for it to do. So it's quickly gets the file created, right? So it finished, right? Your code looks good. So can you go to your C drive for IN folder and check if you have that file in it? Can you share your file explorer to me?
Uh, sure. I do not see that file inside the area.
You do not see it. That's right. You don't have that there. You see for and can you come back to the code? Let me take a look at it now. Oh, I know. Okay. You see you're in line 9. You see your method already closed there. So can you take both braces out? Remove it both. So now if you run it, it should work. Okay, now you go to check the fold. You should have that.
It's there.
Good. because you close the method, so the method is input, so it does nothing.
All right.
All right. So how about you, David? You finished? Hi, David.
I'm still changing something because there was an error.
Do you need my help?
Okay. So I just change this.
Yeah, that should be your class name. You say AOE Java 3.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need to change that because that's your class name.
Okay.
And you need to use new AOE Java 3. And then it should work for you.
Okay. Thank you.
So why do we need to do this? So let me just come back and share my screen to you. So we are passing the basic Java, right? So we're doing the Java. So when you deal with Java, you always deal with a class. So even your own code, it resides in a class. And when we learn the Java class, we know that we cannot directly using the class. We have to create an instance, and then we can use this class's method and the properties. So that's why when you have this class here, for man is stem, so I create a stem here. If your Java class is different, then you need to use a different one. You see here is a file, and I do not have a class called a file, but I do import it. So this is the one I imported, so that's why I can create an instance of it. Okay, so let's move on. So we learn how to create one, and I ask you guys to create a folder. So I'm not sure if anyone get a folder created. Anyone? So David, do you have the folder created or not?
There's some red text.
Let me help you. Oh, okay. You have the same thing. All right. So STEM, you say STEM, you do not have a class called STEM here, right? Your class is called another thing. So then you need to use another thing. And then the new also need to be another thing. Okay? So if that's what you are working on, so you need to use another thing, yeah. Okay. So that's exactly what you needed to know. So you are creating an instance of your class. Quite an object, let me see. The system cannot find the path specified. Do you have a stamp folder in your C drive? Do you have it? If you do not have it, if you use E drive, you need to call in there. And do you have a folder called Java Level 3? If not, you need to find that. You need to find a path that exists on your computer. Okay, so what path you have? All right, usually do not put a file there. It will mess up. It will mess up your Eclipse. Okay, so use a different folder, and then put a file name there. Okay, all right, you can stop sharing. Thank you. All right, so we learned how to create one. And then let's just create a folder, right? So here is a folder, it's a temp, and I create a file. So because why it is a file? Because I use the .txt. So Windows, Java, it will treat that as a fold. Okay. So if I just use this, I say for fun, and that will be a fold. You do not have any file extension there, right? So let me run it. Now let me come back to my C drive, temp, okay. Sorry, I need to put it another slash there. Okay, so tell the system that's a fold. So now let me come back here to check. Right? Okay, you see here for fun. Right? So actually, this is not a fold. Why it does not treat it as fold? So we need to make sure it understands this is a fold. Right? So we need to be able to create a fold then. So how do we make sure it is a fold? So you see here, let's just run it, and I can teach you guys the skill. So let me just do and put it in start a breakpoint here. How to do that? Right click on it. Okay, then you see toggle breakpoint. This will be in the breakpoint. So now you run it, you right click in your code, and you see debug as Java application. You run it, and then you change the perspective. And this is very powerful. This is for a true developer who wants to debug it. Using my code and now runs to this line. Okay, it runs to this line. So now if I wanted to continue run it, you see I have these buttons here, right? These are the debug button. So I wanted to run it one by one. So then I just click on this one. You need to step over. Step over. You see it runs to that line. Then step over. At this moment, if you still click step over, it will finish. You wanted to see if this method works or not. Now click on this button, step into. Okay, it will come to this. And then you will check step over. Right? Right? It already says that exists because I created it. So then you see the finish here. And then done. You click that button, it's done. So if I just come to delete this one, and now let me come to run it again. So debug it. You say here is a run, right? This button is the debug one. So let me just run debug it. Debug it. So now you come here. So you step over, step into, and then you step over. So it does not exist. Check. Okay, if it's not a directory, then it create it. as a file. Okay. Right. So the finish run that. So let's now go to the method delete. You can create, and then you need to have the ability to delete. So you see a lot of virus. They will come to your computer. If you by accident download it, then it can remove all your files from your computer. So how do they do that? How do they do it? They just use the delete method. The delete method will delete the file object from the disk. If the file object is a directory, then it must be input. It can delete it. If it's not input, then it will not be able to. So if you wanted to delete it, you need to go to that folder and then remove all the files in that folder. If that folder has a subfolder, you then need to go to that subfolder to remove all those files. Then you remove the subfolder. Then you remove this folder, right? So that's how it works. This method will throw an exception if the deletion fails. In what kind of situation it will fail? One is that the file is in use by other application. You are trying to delete it. The system usually will not allow you to do that. The second situation is that this file exists. It's not opened by other people, but you do not have the privilege to delete it. Then it will fail. Of course, the third situation is that it does not exist. You wanted to delete it, then it will fail. So let me give you the code, okay? So you see this is the code. And if you want to remove the file, you will see my object delete. That's the file. You just delete it. And if you have a problem, then you just use this one, print it out, okay? So let me give you the code you can try. You can try to create a file, then try to delete it. So let me give you this code. All right, you go ahead and try that, David. Let me take a look at yours. Why it 2 minutes? Can you share your screen to me if you still have the problem? Yeah, because you do not have anything written out, so that's why. But if you go to that location to see if you have anything created there.
There's nothing.
Nothing. So can you just do a debug it to see what happens? Just like what I showed you how to do debug. You put a breakpoint there, and then
Okay, so the debug. Hold on.
you can
Here.
do that. So you can move your mouse to, okay. You need to have a breakpoint, or it will not start. So you put in a breakpoint at line 12. Do that. You move your mouse to line 12 on the left side. On the left, yeah, on that line number. A little bit left to that line number, and then right click on it. No, not do it that way. You need to move your mouse to this left edge, left side, left edge on the land point. Let me show you. Let me show you how to do it. Okay. Let me do a screen share. Right. You see, drill break point is this way. Move the mouse to this area. Okay. If you want your system to stop at this line, right click on it, and then see total breakpoint. And then when you do break debugger, just right click in your code window. You see debug as Java application. If you really want to see something, this is what we usually do. Okay. If you really want to see something in your output, you want to do this. So this is what we do. Just say system dot out dot print 9, and you will see I started my program. Right, you can do something here, and then you copy this line of code, and this line now finish running. Right, you put it here. Now you see program successfully finished. Okay, if you do that, you will see something happen because computer is very fast, right? You do such a thing, it takes sub-second to finish it. So that is why. So if you really wanted to see something happen, you wanted to have a visual effect of it, you just print out something there. You see, print out this, and print out this. Okay. All right, so you can use delete it to remove a file. And if you cannot remove it, then it will give you an error. Okay, it will return false. Then you can find out what happened. Okay, so let's do something. Do some small quiz here. Can you guys give me your answer in the chat? I got one answer. I got two answers. I get a 3, and I get a 1 correct answer. Okay, so David, so what is your answer and why?
I chose A because making a file object doesn't make a file. It just makes like a thing to access the file, but like only make directories and create file, make actual files.
Correct. when I just said file, if you create a file using like a new file, it's actually a virtual object in the memory. It does not have to be a physical file. Okay, so that's why A is the right answer. Constructing, actually, I mean using the constructor to create an instance of the file class to create a file object. Okay, so create a file, that's a method. It will create a physical file on the disk. All right, so let's do the next one. This is okay, good. So the right answer is D. That's correct. Okay, very good. So let's move to the next one then. What is the answer for this one? For the one answer. Yes. I got two answers. So one is the correct one, and I get a three. Two people get the right answer. Okay, Andy and David and Stephen, you three are right. Make it DLR. That's the method in the file object that it will create a folder for you. And very good. So let's continue. So let's start some new items. Just do that. All right. So what I'm going to do is that, so we learned how to create a file in last class that actually creates an empty file. We also learned how to read file in our basic Java classes. We know that both buffer read and the scanner can be used to read a file. Now let's learn the new file read and the write skills. So we just learned how to create a file, right? You use a file, create a new file. So now, how do we do that? We can use a file write. File writer is the convenience class for writing character files. Okay. The constructor of this class assumes that the default character encoding and the default buffer size are acceptable. Because you do not have much other parameters you can use to control it. Let's take a look at the constructor. Let me give you this URL, and I want you guys to take a look at it. Okay, so file write. File writer, let's see the constructor first. So you see that has 5 different ways to construct an instance of the file writer class. The simplest one is that you just provide a file to it. Just provide a file to it. Okay. And here you see you can control. You can just append your stuff to the file if the file already exists. Okay. All right. You also can just give it a file name, and that's a string. So it can create a file for you. All right. So you can create an instance of it using file write with the string to the file path. So now let's just do that. Let's just do write a file. Let me just give you this code, and then you use this as a new method in your class, in your Java class. Okay. Created this method, so I already have it here. So let me just walk you through. So write to file. So what you got is that this is the content that you wanted to write to the file, and this is a string for you to get that file. So you see what we wanted to do. We use a file write, and then I create a new file write. I pass the file path in, and then you see I use a file write method write. So it writes the content to it. Okay. Always remember to close your file after you write it, and then you will have the thing in that new file you created. You also write the content to it. So let's use it. So let me check. I do have the method here. Write to file. Right? Yes, I have the method called write to file. That's what I have here. So what I needed to do is that give it a file name, give what I wanted to write. Let's come back here. So I create an instance, okay? The instance of my class. So this will be the file. Let me just change the file to a new file. Paste write .txt. So I will create a file like that. So I have a new instance of my class. So now I want to try to use my new method. What is that method called? It's called write to file. Okay, then you need to provide what you wanted to write. You will see I learned Java 3 file class. Okay, that will be the content. And here you just need to provide the file, right? Just this path is good enough. Let me just do this one. Then now let me run my code. Let me give this code to you. You need to remember to change the stem theme, okay? That is my class. Your class name may not be the same. So just be careful on that. So now let me run my code. And I'm going to my ctemp folder. Ctemp. Okay, you see I just created this file test write.txt. It was created a moment ago. Let me open this file. You see that's the content. You use a file class, you will not be able to write anything to it. File class does not have a method to modify the content of the file itself. It is a high-level class. You can create it, you can remove it, right? but you cannot modify the content in it. Here is what we have. So I wanted to check your guys' work to see if it works for you. Give you like 2 more minutes to work on it. And if anyone finished, let me know, okay? Did anyone finish? So Andy, I haven't not asked you to share your work to me so far today. So let me ask you, have you finished? Andy,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
you're done. Can you share it to me? See if it works for you. Okay, can you go to your file, explore, let me take a look at that file. Java level 3. Very good. Okay, good. Wonderful. Thanks. So you can use a file writer. You see, file write will give you the way to create a file and to add the content to it. So I want you guys to try another thing here. So you see, let me go to the file write, the constructor, and you have the file and then this in the append, right? So then now can you guys use append? Then you will see the new stuff is appended to the end of the text, because we already have the file now, right? We already have it. So you wanted to do append, so you come to the method itself, write to file, right? And then just do this. True. Okay, so this time let me just do something here. We'll say new stuff to append. If you do not use append, it will override whatever you have. It will overwrite it. Okay. Now let me go to my C temp. Let me open it. So here, new stuff to append. Okay, now let me come back to the method. Now I do not use true here. So it will not append. So now let me run it again, come back. Let me run it. So now let me go to open this file again. You see the previous text are all gone. So only this one is written to this file, new stuff to append. Hopefully this makes sense to you. And today we learned how to create a file, how to create a folder, how to check if a file exists or not. Then we know how to delete it. And the delete is also a very dangerous action, and you may run into issues. So it will give you a return value that is a Boolean. If it's not successful, it will return false. If it is successful, it will return true. And then you come to learn another class. This time is not a file class. This is called a file writer. So file writer gives you the ability not only to create a file if that file does not exist. Also, you can add the content to the file. If you use append, then it will append the stuff to the original content. If you do not use append, it will overwrite your original file with the new content. So that's all we have today. So we will come back to learn more next week. I do not have homework for you, but I do not see people do the homework for last homework. So did you guys have a problem to the homework, or do you guys need the homework? If you guys do not do it, then I do not feel that I needed to send you guys homework. I know that Andy did the homework for the field. So also in the future, Andy, when you give me the code, I'd rather you give me the source code. Do not give me the picture. I can read your picture, but if I wanted to run it, sometimes I really wanted to get your source code so I can run it.
Yeah, I don't really know how to like send you the actual code. Like I only know how to screenshot it.
Okay, you can just do it like an submit an attachment. So
I
you
just-
make,
Do I just like copy and paste it into a document?
you can make it like in a Google Doc, and then you can
Okay.
share.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Right. For the rest of the class, I'm not sure if you guys have any question. I can tell you guys are all doing very good on Java coding, because you guys have the basic skills there.
But I didn't know how to do the homework. I didn't like understand.
Let me share you. Let me check if you are in the classroom or not. Right, you see here. David, you are here, right? So I really do not know how to submit the homework myself, because I do not have that interface. But if you guys can go to the Google Classroom, and then you show me.
I know how to submit the homework. I just wasn't sure how to like do the homework. I wasn't sure how to make a filter to get the folders that start with P.
Okay, so let me just share what Andy does. Andy, do you mind?
Yeah, sure, you can share mine.
I think I read your homework, your homework, Andy. So this is the way to do it, but I already mentioned this only work on the files. Okay, and only works on the files. What I actually wanted you to do is that I want you to make sure it's the folder, right? So you actually need to use a file field. Here is the file name field, right? File name field. Yeah, file name field, you cannot tell if it is a file or it's an or if it's a if it's a file or if it's a folder. So you need to use the file field. First thing you will do, you will just see here it is in a directory, right? After you got that, you wanted to get the file's absolute path. You get the file name, file, you can get the name. Then you can check if the name starts with P. So I really want you guys have 2 lines of code here. One, it is the folder. You use the if, it is the folder. It is directory. And then in that directory, you use the file get name, and then you use start with. You want to return that. Else, you just return false. So that way. So it's a little bit complicated than that one. So let me just write this for you, okay? Let me see, let me share my screen here. Oh, it's already at 16. So if you guys wanted to stay, you can, okay, let me just go to the get files here. You see I have the file filter here. So here I see if a file is directory, I return it. I will just use this. I will not return it. I will say if this is a directory, I will do something. So what I'm going to do is that I will say file get name. Okay, so you get the file name. Now you will say start with key. Okay, so if that is true, you will return true. If that's false, you will return false. And if this is not a directory, right, you will just say else, return false. Okay, so it's just a little bit more complicated. So this will make sure you filter it's all folders, and the folder name starts with P. Do you get that, Andy?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So David, does this make sense to you?
Yes, it
Yes.
makes sense.
It creates a file filter. All right. I do not want to keep you guys too long here. So that's all what I have, and I do not have homework for you guys.